Mother, why would you ask me a question like that?
Because inquiring minds want to know. Do you or do you not want to get married again?
I don't know. I'll tell you one thing, if I did get remarried, it wouldn't be to somebody like Michael.
Thank you, Lord.
You're so threatened by my success. No, this time I'd like a man that would be supportive of my career, that loves my son, is sensitive and considerate.
Gee, where would you ever find a guy like that?
Hey, Angela, you want me to go down to the Cub Scouts and pick up Jonathan so you can get some work done on that new account?
Hello. Welcome back to AOA. The Who's the Boss podcast.
Fireplace edition.
I'm Tori.
And I'm Kevin.
Yes, and if it sounds like our house is actually on fire, it's because it's cold, and so I was like, oh, I'll light a fire, and I didn't realize quite how loud the popping was going to be.
Yeah, the wood is like popping a lot. You got balsa wood in there?
But like, I mean, my plan is to really make everyone feel that they're just sitting here with us while we talk about Who's the Boss. So
yeah.
What better than a crackling fireplace?
Sounds like fireworks.
All right. Well, yeah, no news, no voice messages this week, so I'm going to get into it.
Those are our cats.
Those are cats fighting. Okay, so today's episode is season 3, episode 6, and the title is Wedding Bells. This first aired on November 11th, 1986, and the TV Guide summary says, while participating in a wedding, Angela and Tony wonder what it would be like if they were married. This episode overall is like so awkward.
It is. It really is. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
But yet I still love it. Like, I can't help but love it, even though... And, like, I didn't read that summary until right now, and it's not a great one. But I guess... I mean, they are kind of just thinking about what it would be like if they were married. But I feel like they just kind of got caught up in everything. So anyway, so when this episode opens... Samantha's on the phone. Here's the thing with Samantha being on the phone here. Is she on the phone with Marcy? Or do you think she's talking to someone else? I
thought they established that she was talking. No, maybe not.
No, they never say
like
who
Bonnie
she's talking. Okay, yeah, they don't say she's talking to. So she's talking to someone on the phone about a girl who was wearing a black bra under a white shirt. So basically just like
I thought they were talking about somebody who was...
wearing a black bra under a white shirt, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said that she was talking to somebody who was wearing...
Oh, no,
Never
about
mind.
someone.
Gotcha.
Maybe I did say that, sorry.
Okay. I'm paying attention here.
And so then Tony comes in and he's like, can you keep it down or whatever? And she's like, this is a really important phone call. And then she asks, do you have a black one I can borrow? So now it seems like she also would like to wear a black bra under a white t-shirt.
Oh, maybe that's like the Madonna look.
Yeah, maybe. Because she said all the boys were staring, but she says it in like a bad way, but then it seems as though she wants to try this out. Anyway, none of that has anything to do with the rest of the episode. But, so yeah, I wasn't sure if she's actually talking to Marcy or not because of what happens later on. So... Samantha starts squealing at something on the phone and Tony's telling her to keep it down, and Angela comes in and she's like, Tony, little girl squeal, let her squeal. So Angela goes to answer the front door because there's someone at it, and it is Marcy's father, Dr. Ferguson, and one of Angela's friends who we haven't seen in a while, Isabel. Now, Isabel is in the episode First Kiss, so she's one of the 2 women that Angela goes to dinner with that night when she thinks, well, actually, no, when her mother forgot her birthday. And then she's the one who is sober when they get back to the house. But her hair looks different because it's like darker and shorter here, and it was much blonder. So at first
we haven't seen her in a while,
Yeah, we haven't.
Styles changed.
I almost didn't recognize her.
It's like first season, right? Or was that second season?
That was the end of the first season.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so Dr. Ferguson and Isabel have some news, which is that they are engaged. Now, at some point, these 2 have met each other, and we'll find out a little bit more why. Now, oh my goodness.
I know.
Tony comes and says, "Oh, this is so exciting. Dr. Paul and Dr. Isabel Ferguson, a medical corporation," because they're both doctors. Now, on IMDb, his name has been listed as Doyle Ferguson this whole entire time. And they've never said his name. So I've called him Doyle every episode just because I like that name every time he's been on. Well, I don't know if Tony Danza was like, no, I'm not saying Doyle or what. Because now,
or just forgot, called him Paul, and they left it that way.
Now this gentleman's name is Paul Ferguson. So
I bet you that's what happened.
I'd like y'all to meet Paul Ferguson. So once again, we've had a name change on the show from the listing. So they're getting engaged. Everyone's excited. Now Samantha's like, "Oh, congratulations. I've got to go call Marcy and tell her." Right. So she picks up the phone again. And I don't know. So she either was on the phone with Marcy and then hung up, or that was a different friend. And Paul is like, "Oh, well, I already told her because I'm her father."
Right. Like she's all mad.
Yeah. She's like, "Well, I'm her best friend." Tony's like, "Well, she doesn't know that you know." So then Samantha's excited and she's like, "Oh, okay." And so he grabs the phone. He's like, "Yeah, upstairs." So he gets rid of her. Now the two couples are here and Angela asked if they've set a date, and they said they have, or they want to, but they wanted to check with Angela first. And the reason is because Isabel would like Angela to be her matron of honor. So Angela and Isabel squeal, and then
Right.
Angela's like, "Oh wait, what about Wendy? Because you've been friends with her longer. Like, is she going to be upset?" And she's like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe it should be Wendy." I can't tell if she's kidding there or if she's really second guessing.
Right. I thought it was a joke, and then it was like, oh, maybe. I know, it was a weird moment.
But Angela's like, "No way, because I'm the one who seated you next to each other at my dinner party. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be getting married." And Tony says, "No, you may have sat them next to each other, but if these two got together because of my oysters Micelli."
Oysters Micelli. It's gonna be the name of my next band. Oysters Micelli. What hang on, back up for a second. So
Right.
I probably should know this. What is the difference between a matron of honor and a maid of honor?
Oh, a maid of honor has never been married. A
Okay.
matron of honor is either a married woman or has previously been married.
Oh, okay. I should have known that, probably.
I don't even know why I know
don't
that.
know.
Yeah.
It's probably some reason you don't want to know.
Right. Yeah, some old antiquated reason, I'm sure.
Right.
Just the fact that they're called maid and matron in the first place. So Tony is taking credit for getting them together with his aphrodisiac Micelli hors d'oeuvre dish or
Micelli.
whatever it was. And so Paul Ferguson says, "Well, I believe in
Doyle.
giving credits where credit is due, so would you like to be my best man?" And Tony squeals, and so they hug. So I just think it's funny, like, I want to see the episode where this dinner party happened. Like, what the heck? So at some point...
And wait a minute. Here's the other thing, too. How tight are these two that he's going to be the best man? You don't think that Doyle or Paul knows some other doctors that he's closer with?
Right.
We never see this guy,
This is
and they're
true.
best buds.
Right, this is true. But we wouldn't have the whole rest of the episode if he actually had friends.
I know.
Maybe Doyle/Paul doesn't make friends easily. And we do know that they are buddies because he played on the team.
Yeah, I guess maybe we don't know when they hang out.
Yeah, like, obviously they had a full dinner party that we weren't privy to.
True.
So, and it also kind of establishes here something that, we've never seen before, which is that Angela and Tony have hung out with other couples in, like, a social setting. So, even though Tony, like,
Was serving up the
prepared
oysters
and served
Micelli.
the dinner, he was still part of the dinner party. So her friend and, his buddy or whatever, I guess, met there. I mean, I'm sure Angela would have had him over anyway just because of Marcy, but Marcy is Sam's friend, not so much Jonathan's friend.
Right. This where I have this pause, he's really giving him a heck of a hug.
He is. He's very excited. He just squealed.
I know.
And I love Angela's giggle at him squealing.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this on Antenna TV, the next scene that comes up is cut. But I have the streamed one from when it was on Crackle. Mm-hmm. And so now we're in the kitchen where Samantha and Marcy are. It's another day. And Marcy's like, oh, your refrigerator is always so amazing. She's like, I'm hoping now that my dad's getting married, ours won't be so pathetic. And they're pulling out a cake. I guess they're celebrating a bit. Samantha has some milk. And they're, she's...
A tremendous cake. You're going to eat a whole cake?
Well, it looks like it's already been cut into.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
maybe like they have been eating it and they just went back for more.
Gotcha.
But Samantha's like, pathetic. She's like, it's downright scary. I reached in one time and something reached back.
Oh, gosh.
But it's like, okay, well, still... I mean, Doyle /
Right,
Paul is a doctor, and I'm sure he has like a housekeeper or some kind of nanny. So
Who knows? But they're just showcasing that he's a bachelor and he doesn't have food in the fridge.
Right.
That's just ridiculous.
Maybe that's why Marcy's always over here.
Right, because of the food. Oysters Micelli.
And then Marcy's like, oh, don't worry, we killed that. So whatever was is gone. But Sam's like, so you're really okay with like having a stepmother now? And Marcy's like, oh, sure, it's going to be great. She's like, all you have to do is call them mom and be nice to them and they'll do anything for you because they're worried that you'll try to wreck their marriage if they don't.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So setting her. Oh, and I meant to look up. Hang on. I'll look it up later.
What's that?
I'm wondering, I think this is Isabel's the last time we see Isabel, but I don't think it's the last time we see Marcy.
Or what about Doyle?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Here, let me look right now.
I'll go look.
No, I got it open. I also wanted to look up Wendy too because
Wendy Whitner.
Yeah, Wendy is normally my MVP, but not so much in this episode. So
She still has a few good lines.
She does, but I'm going to be sad if this is her like
swan song.
Yeah. Exactly. Where are we here?
She has a few good lines, though.
Oh, okay. No. Doyle. No. Doyle's coming back.
Okay.
And he's still listed as Doyle. They didn't change it to Paul.
I'm telling you, it's Tony's fault.
Right. But I'm pretty sure Isabel's not coming back. And let me check Dory real quick. I'm sure this is fantastic listening for people.
Wendy Whitner. Let's see if she's coming back.
Wendy Whitner.
Dory
and it
Brennan.
does say TTENER now.
Oh, right.
Because of the bowling shirt change.
Oh, yeah. She has... No, there's one more.
Raging housekeeper.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I remember that one. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So in the living room, Isabel's all cozy up on the couch. And
It's apparently the next day or something.
Yeah. And Paul's hanging out. And Tony and Angela are going through the wedding invitations. And they're deciding on one. Yeah. So the first one that Angela picks out... Tony's like, no, it's too many curly cues and stuff. She's like, well, an invitation, a wedding should, have romance and wonder. And he's like, no, it should tell you what time to be there.
Exactly.
So they're enjoying this, and it's as if they're picking out their own wedding invitation.
I know. I don't. And why are they letting him do that? And then was that a thing at some point? Or
your matron of honor and
her
housekeeper picked out your invitation.
Housekeeper, the best man. Did they pick out wedding invitations?
No, I've never heard of that. I've heard of like having the bachelor party, but this episode is so rushed because they need to get to the wedding that like the whole first part. Like I think it was just a cute idea to have them like looking over, and Paul and Isabel probably don't care, so they're like, sure, whatever. Or they actually went home and then picked out their own invitation, and Tony and Angela just
and they're just humoring them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, it's the wedding.
Right. So then they find another one that both of them agree on, and they're like, okay, number 25. So they write that down. And then Mona says, now that you've picked out their invitation, would you like to name their children? And of course, Tony says, I've always liked Anthony.
I always like Anthony.
So Paul and Isabel and Marcy leave, and as they shut the door, Angela's like, "Oh, they're so great together. They were friends for such a long time, and then one day Cupid's arrow just hit." So, were they friends for? I mean, when did this dinner party happen?
What do we know?
I want the dinner party episode
up so it works for Angela and
right.
Tony.
Yeah, and it's paralleling Yes, Angela and Tony.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And she's like, "It doesn't love work in funny ways." And Tony's like, "Yeah, it's a real gut buster." So they leave the room, and now Samantha's a little curious about whether or not she's ever going to have a stepmother. So she asks Tony if she can ask him something, and he's like, "Of course, anything, anytime." And unless it's about boys, your allowance, or an additional phone line.
No, it's a cordless telephone.
Oh, a cordless telephone.
Which would be wild for her, like a cordless phone.
Wow. Yeah, so she says, if my allowance was bigger, then I could have a cordless phone and call boys from anywhere.
All right, which he isn't having.
No. But just last week, he told her that she could talk to him about boys. So she asks, do you ever think about getting married again? And he says, I was very happy with your mom, and I'd like to have something like that again. But things are different now, and it would have to be the right person. And she's like, yeah, you've got me. And he says, and I would need someone that loves you as much as I do, and someone who would support me and accept me for who I am and what I do. And Sam's like, oh, man, sorry.
He's like, you're in big trouble.
It seems like Sam hasn't really caught on to the Angela thing yet.
No, and that's evident at the wedding, but...
Right,
we can point out later, but yeah.
She doesn't seem to think... she thought it was pretty funny when Jonathan was trying to get them together. She either
Jonathan
doesn't
was
seem
ahead of
to
his
think...
time, way ahead of his time.
He was. She either doesn't seem to think that Angela would ever be interested in her dad, or that he would be interested in her, I guess. I can't really tell. But yeah, it's funny that she's kind of more of a holdout on this than anyone else in the household. So now in the kitchen, a similar conversation's going on with Mona and Angela. And Angela's like, why are you asking me this? And Mona's like, because, inquiring minds want to know, which is the old National Enquirer slogan.
Yeah,
National Enquirer
slogan, say that,
right?
Okay,
yeah. Oh,
inquiring minds want to know.
And
it was the National Enquirer. I don't know if that's still their thing. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I remember those commercials, though. They were insane.
Me too. And she's like, do you or do you not ever want to get remarried? And Angela's basically saying, I really don't know, but if I did get remarried, it definitely wouldn't be someone like Michael. And Mona's happy to hear that.
Right, yeah.
Because Michael was so threatened by her success that she wants a man who's more supportive of her career and that loves her son, and would be kind and considerate and sensitive and wouldn't be threatened by her. Mm-hmm. And Mona's like, oh, well, where on earth are you going to find that? And then in comes Tony. And he says, do you want me to go down to Cub Scouts and pick up Jonathan and so you can get some work done? And just being all Tony.
I know. He's like, so you can get some work done on that new account? And then he smiles like it's all staged.
I know. It's like you expect to see that, the little ding off the
so
teeth
cheesy.
At the smile at the end.
Right.
It's so over the top that you want to see that. But, I mean, he's right there in front of you, Angela. There he is. He is probably the most kind and considerate person that you're going to meet in this situation.
Yeah.
So now they planned a wedding in what? I mean, how much time has passed? I don't even know. It's a week? The invitations must have been email because everyone's already there. But there was no email.
All of a sudden, there's the wedding.
Right.
Here we are.
Here we are. So Angela and Tony are walking down the aisle. They get in their positions waiting for Isabel and Dr. Ferguson to come down. And already you can kind of tell they're sort of he's looking at her. And
love is in the air.
Yes. I think it's just how weddings are. I feel like weddings are just kind of like that.
Yes, they are. So they do emit this togetherness.
Right.
I don't know, love.
They're just kind of fun and
yeah, and
if you take a date to a wedding too, that's kind of serious.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, it is.
I know, but I just remembered that one of our very first dates was my mom's wedding.
I know.
Now it's funny that I just brought that up.
Yep.
So
I remember that well.
So Isabel and Paul come down the aisle, and the minister's like, "Dear friends and family, we're here today. Let's take a moment to reflect on the forthcoming marriage." Again, this whole scene, if you're watching on antenna TV, is completely chopped up. They go straight to like giving the rings.
Yeah, they don't mess around.
But I think this part is really cute because everyone's kind of sitting there quietly, and like Tony's sort of looking over at Angela, and Angela's looking over at Tony a little bit, kind of getting caught. And then they go to the people sitting, and Jonathan says to Samantha, "What are we supposed to be reflecting about?"
I know. That whole scene is cute with Jonathan and Samantha, and they cut it out.
I know. It is
At
really
least
cute.
Antenna TV does.
And she says, we're supposed to be watching them reflect. And he's like, "What are they reflecting about?" She's like, "I don't know. Probably how much loot they're going to get at the end of the night."
With the presents, yeah.
Right, the presents. So then Jonathan turns to Mona and says, "Grandma, what do you think they're reflecting about?" And she's like, "I don't know. Probably the wedding night."
Of course, right.
Again, why would you tell your 9-year-old grandson that?
I know, he just looks confused.
Yeah. So after everyone's done reflecting, is that I don't remember. I don't know that I've ever been to a wedding where you reflect.
Yeah,
Do you?
No.
I don't know.
Is that a Catholic thing?
Well, this is not a Catholic ceremony for sure.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so now they're going on with the rest of the ceremony, and again, Tony and Angela keep like making little glimpses at each other. So, it's interesting here because yes, they've built up to this. They're friends. Okay, we know that they're attracted to each other. One or both have a crush on one another at this point.
Yeah.
But now they're like standing up there and like actually visualizing marrying one another.
Right.
Without ever being on a date at all, ever. Or I think like maybe this kind of feels like a date to them. So as they're going through the rest of the ceremony, like when they're saying the lines, we're not seeing the couple at all. Like as Isabel's saying her lines, we're seeing Tony. As Paul's saying his lines, we're seeing Angela. And the two of them are imagining as if they were the ones getting married.
Right.
But I just want to say that if Angela was getting married, her dress and stuff would have been way better than whatever they put Judith Light in for this scene.
Yeah.
I feel like they just like found a dress and like stuck it on her.
I know. What do you want? And they try to make it all dark.
Yeah, it
but
was kind of an awkward part.
It was.
But it's also the only glimpse you'll ever get of Tony and Angela possibly getting married.
That's true.
So remember that. So the wedding's over, and Paul and Isabel walk back up the aisle, and Tony says, Angela says to Tony, "They're a perfect couple, don't you think?" And he says, "Perfect." And he takes her arm, and then they walk back up the aisle. So now we're at the reception, and Wendy has gone up to Paul and Isabel, and Isabel's saying, "Oh, Wendy, I'm so sorry that Herb couldn't be here. We will never meet Herb."
I know.
So I feel like now it's just a joke that they mentioned the fact that Herb wasn't there.
Right, of course.
Since we've never met him.
He's never going to meet him.
Yeah. And Wendy's like, "Oh, he had a dentist conference, although he probably would have made it if his wife had been matron of honor."
Shots are fired.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm your oldest friend, a woman who stood by you through 2 children and a divorce." So that's my other question. Isabel has kids?
Yeah, well, no, we don't hear anything about it.
Right, like we saw Marcy over at the house, but I guess maybe her kids were with the dad at the time.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah.
Maybe it was an ugly divorce.
Not only is Marcy getting a stepmom, but she's going to have 2 step siblings also. That could have been its own spin-off show right there.
Yeah.
And then Wendy makes another dig saying, "Oh, but Angela looks beautiful even though peach is my color."
Zing.
Yeah.
Again.
So now Angela's like, "Oh, everything's so beautiful." It's their turn to talk to Paul and Isabel. And Isabel asks her, "Well, did that trip down the aisle give you any ideas?" And Angela's like, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Paul says the same thing to Tony, you know, like, well, we've got the hall for the rest of the night, so you can go ahead and get married. And Tony's like, what is it with guys when they get married? Then they want everyone else to get married.
Yeah.
And then Paul says, well, misery loves company.
Oh, boy.
And gets in trouble with Isabel. I know.
But, you know, the funny thing about all of that is, I mean, not that Tony and Angela are together, but when you are a couple and your friends start getting married, when they're married, all they want you to do is get married.
That is true.
And then when they have kids, all they want you to do is have kids.
That is also true.
Why?
I don't know. Because misery loves company.
Why do people do that?
Because Paul is right, and he told it to us straight when we were children, and we didn't listen.
Yeah.
Now here we are. So, yeah. But and I think it's funny that they are just assuming, like, they want them to get together.
Of course.
Mona wants them to get together.
Right, everybody
And
does
Wendy
at this
wants
point.
them to get, everyone except for Samantha at this point, really.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting ready to go to their table, and Tony's asking her, like, oh, what do you want? I'll grab some stuff from the buffet. Again, a very couple thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like giving him ideas, and then she's like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it up to you because you probably know what I like as much as I do. And he's like, yes, even better. So, I mean, he knows what she likes.
Micelli, but
yeah, that's true.
he'll make it work.
He knows what she likes even better than she does.
Right, whatever that means.
Yeah, so he heads over to the buffet table, and she goes to sit down. And then Jonathan...
That's a cute scene.
Yeah, they cut to a cute scene with Jonathan where he's like, I'm so full, I can't eat anything else. And then a waiter comes up and is like, oh, let me take your plate because we're getting ready to serve dinner. And Jonathan's like, why didn't anyone tell me?
Oh, poor Jonathan.
Now, the actor playing the waiter is Tony Danza's brother. And he's listed on IMDb as Matty Danza, but I'm pretty sure that he goes by their original last name of Aya Danza. So I believe his name, maybe his stage name's Matty Danza, but I feel like his name is Matty Aya Danza. Yeah, because Tony Danza changed his last name to Danza.
Well, he's in 2 episodes, right? Or no, 1.
Oh,
I don't know. It says...
yeah, I think he is in another episode.
Marty / waiter.
Right. So at another point, he's going to be Marty at Marty's Melody Room, I believe.
Marty's Melody Room. Okay.
That pool hall that they go to in Brooklyn.
And the only other thing he's in is Hannah Montana.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know he was
bizarre.
in anything else.
He's Jimmy in Hannah Montana. And that's it. He did 2 episodes of Who's the Boss, and then in 2006 did Hannah Montana.
Now, what's interesting, too, let me check real quick, because I believe that there are some Who's the Boss people that worked on Hannah Montana.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
I was
so
going to ask,
maybe he
actually,
just-
was Tony Danza in it?
And no, he was
He
not.
wasn't? Okay. I didn't know. I just completely a guess on my part.
Yeah, I'm going to say I don't believe so.
Okay.
I might be wrong, because I'm not absolutely sure, but I don't believe that Tony Danza was in Hannah Montana. I can't find the writers on here. I'll check it later. So that might be why. So, yeah, and his brother will be in one more scene, too, in this episode. So now
Really?
as
Okay.
Tony's over at the buffet table, he runs into a guy, and the guy notices that he has a ton of food on his plate. And he's like, oh, you know, big plate. And Tony's like, well, it's not for me. You know, it's not all for me. And he's like, oh, okay, your wife sent you. And he's like, no, I mean, she's not my wife. And he says, this was our first trip down the aisle. So this guy is Jeffrey with a G.
With a G.
Yes. And so he says, oh, okay, so you are with her. So it gives the impression here that Jeffrey spotted Angela already at the wedding and is now trying to kind of fish around to see if she and Tony are actually a couple. So he's like, oh, no, I'm not with her. I mean, we're just together tonight. And so Jeffrey's like, oh, you know, these modern women, you never really know where you stand. But I'm also kind of getting the impression from Tony that he's not really saying, like, I'm not with her at all. Like, I think he is kind of, at this point,
Right. Like,
yeah, we're...
I mean, he came in there with her, I guess, maybe. And
Yeah, we came together, and we're hanging out together, and this is starting to feel like maybe it could be a date because I'm enjoying myself, but she's not actually my wife. So Jeffrey introduces himself as Jeffrey Wells, Tony says, "Nice to meet you, Jeff," which is such a Tony thing to do.
Right.
And then he says, "No, it's Jeffrey with a G." And so now that's how Jeffrey with a G gets his nickname.
So you can't, somebody's name is spelled Jeff with a G, you can't, Jeffrey with a G can't say Jeff?
No, you can, but he just doesn't go by Jeff.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
He's
but
fancy.
if it was Jeff, it would be Goeff. I'm sorry,
Geoff.
Geoff.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So then he looks at Jeffrey's plate, and Jeffrey only has a couple things on his, and he's like, "So you're alone, huh? There's nothing sadder than hors d'oeuvres for one." Like,
I know.
so mean to
I
say.
know,
Why
not
would you
nice.
say that to anybody? But Jeffrey's like, "Nope. I haven't met the right woman yet." And he asks Tony, "Where is the perfect combination of intelligence, sensitivity, and humor?" And then Jeffrey sets his plate down and walks away.
I know that baffled me. Did Tony shame him so much that he had to set his plate down? He just puts the plate down, walks away, and he storms away.
He
Like,
lost his appetite.
I'm outta here.
He's like, "You know what? I don't have time to eat. I need to go find a woman. So I'm going to put this plate right here, and I'm going to go work on that for the rest of the night."
no explanation, puts the plate down.
So he puts the plate
And
down
someone's
and
going
walks.
to throw that food away. It's trash.
Right. It's going to be Tony Danza's brother.
Maddie's going to throw all the food away.
So as he walks away, because he just asked, "Where do you find a woman with the perfect combination of intelligence, sensitivity, and humor?" And Tony says, "Table 6.
Yeah, to himself, he's like, table 6.
Yeah. So Tony's having a good time tonight. Like,
Right.
I think he's enjoying this, and he's maybe starting to think that this could be something else besides just friendship. So they give you a good shot of the table number 6. So in case we weren't sure that he was talking about Angela, we know
Right.
for sure.
Right.
And Angela's still waiting for Tony to stop jabbing with Jeff and come back with her food. So she's stealing food off of Wendy's plate. And
she's like, "I'll pay you back when Tony gets here."
right. "Can I have one more rumaki? I'll pay you back when he gets here." Now, I had no idea what rumaki was. Did you?
Nope, not a clue.
But we looked
We
it
had to
up.
look it up.
And it's some sort of chicken liver
Right.
wrapped in bacon.
Yeah.
It sounds like I would enjoy it.
It's like, I don't know, the liver part, but maybe.
No, but like I've had goose liver, and it's just it seems odd, but it's delicious.
Okay. It's basically an hors d'oeuvre, and it's from the tiki culture origin. And it was probably served at Trader Vic's and other Polynesian restaurants in the 50s and 60s.
Yes.
So it's a Polynesian style. You know what? You probably could get it at like a luau.
Right, yeah.
Hawaii. They probably
if
have
we could ever go
rumaki.
back to Hawaii,
Yeah, someday.
I will try to have some rumaki. Okay, so now in another odd interlude, Mona walks in with some guy, and
Bizarre. This is strange too.
I know. She's like, "Okay, thank you, and I promise the first bunny hop is yours." And then when he walks away, she gives this look like she really wanted to get rid of that guy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was confused, and I'm not
so
sure.
the idea is he's hitting on her.
Yes, I think
Okay.
he's been chasing her around and hitting on her, and she's like, because
I
he even
see.
has like an old-fashioned sort of suit on,
Right, and a crazy bow tie.
right? And she doesn't want anything to do with him. But I don't know if that was just an interlude or if something got cut that we didn't see earlier. So
Well, it's
Tony,
not on either one.
what?
It's not on either cut.
Right? Yes. No, but there are. So even the streaming episodes have stuff. Some of the episodes still have stuff that was
I'll
cut.
never know.
From the original. I know. Like there are a few. I remember someone saying that in the episode Custody that we saw. Remember when they go to California for Michael's wedding?
Yeah.
Apparently there's another scene that parallels Jonathan and Tony shaving where Angela gives Samantha the shawl that she's wearing to cover her sunburn.
I remember you saying this.
Yeah, and that hasn't been shown since the original run of the show.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because I guess I feel like they've all just been continuously cut down from syndication. Mm-hmm. And then the streaming services just happen to get like the better cuts.
Yeah.
So Tony comes over to the table with a pile of Angela's food.
Yeah.
And he introduces himself to the other couple sitting there who are Fred and Ginger. And they are Isabel's cousins from Buffalo. So Tony's like, "Oh, that's great. You must be really excited." And they're like, "Yes, we love Buffalo."
Like, what? Okay, that's...
And I love the look Mona gives, too.
Yeah, like,
but I guess
what?
it's just kind of setting up that this couple is going to be annoying.
Yeah.
That we're not going to be getting along with them tonight.
No, Fred's a stick in the mud.
Right. And so then Wendy notices, wait a minute, Tony, you didn't get Angela any rumaki. And he says, Angela doesn't like rumaki. And Angela says, yes, I do. I love it. And he says, well, you never eat mine. And she says, well, sometimes your liver's a little dry. So now he's offended. And they're seeming very much like a married couple arguing over him finding out that she thinks his liver is dry.
I know. Come on, Tony. Well, he can kill those oysters Micelli, but he can't make a freaking rumaki.
I'm sure his rumaki is fine. Maybe just Angela thought the liver was dry.
Maybe.
I'm siding with Tony here.
All right.
So, and Mona says he's very sensitive about his organs.
I know. Every time Mona's trying to, like, equalize the situation.
Right.
It starts to get intense.
Oh, yeah. This is going to get intense real fast. So, now, Fred and Ginger think that they're a married couple because of the way they're acting. So, they ask, well, how long have you two been together? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well, we're not really together. We're not married. And Mona says, yes, they just live together and raise each other's children. So now Fred and Ginger think that they are just living in sin and not married.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, maybe you should think about getting married, because what about the kids? What are they going to have to tell all their little friends at school?
Fred, you're reading into it a bit too much.
Fred, you'd
Let it go.
Listen, welcome. If you were in 2020... you might be shocked at some of the stuff you see these days, buddy.
Yeah.
But so this actor, this might be a bad time to bring it up, but this actor, his name is Dean Dittman, and unfortunately he passed away only like 2 or 3 years after this episode.
He doesn't even look that old.
I know he was 57 years old.
Yeah, young.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
No wonder what he passed away from.
Let me see if it says. It's usually... Oh, no. Sometimes they usually list it at the end, but they did not.
A shame.
But yeah, so... And you know what? He was also in Bachelor Party. We were just talking about Bachelor Party last episode.
I don't recognize him, but that doesn't mean
He's just
anything.
one of the Elks Head executives in the hotel, so
okay.
he
So
didn't
he
have,
wouldn't.
like, a big part in it.
Gotcha.
And then the woman playing his wife is... Oceana Marr. Yes, and she has not acted in years, but as far as I can tell, she is still alive. So Mona's like, well, maybe the minister's still here. Maybe he'll give you a 2 for the price of 1 deal.
My gosh.
No one's been shot. It's okay. It's just the fireplace. And Wendy says, and if you act now, I'll throw in a matron of honor.
Oh.
She's still so mad that she did not get to be the matron of honor. But Tony's like, okay, let's get out of here. So he asks Angela if she would like to dance. As they're dancing, Angela's like, I guess we kind of did really sound like a married couple bickering. And Tony's like, yeah, And then he's like, that was... pretty wild, like going down the aisle, felt kind of weird. And she was like, what do you mean weird? And he's like, oh, no, nothing bad, just like weird. And they kind of want to ask each other, but they're going back and forth, and like Angela's a little nervous to say it, and Tony's like, just speak. And she's like, well, I was just wondering if you ever think about getting married again. So he's like, I think about it. I've thought about it before, but you can't hold a guy's thoughts against him or something.
I know.
Because he'd be arrested before he got out of puberty. That's such a Tony thing to say.
I know.
But as they're talking, they're flashing back to when they were picturing each other. So then he asks Angela, like, have you thought about it? And she's like, yeah, maybe a little bit. And they show her thinking about Tony. So he kind of asks, like, well... as you were thinking about it, how far did your thoughts go? Mm-hmm. And she says, it would have to be the right person. And he agrees with that. And then they just kind of start dancing. And I feel like, we've seen we haven't really seen them dance like this before. Like, he's really kind of pulling her close.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, got her face kind of in his neck and stuff more than we've seen before. Because more when they've danced has been like showy dancing or the tango or the Mexican hat dance.
Mexican hat dance.
But so they're kind of getting... Is that a child or a cat? Oh, it's a cat falling off a chair. Oh, is she going to make it?
I don't know.
Oh, she made it.
Destroy the chair in the process.
I know. For some reason, those don't get scratched up, though. Okay, so they really get lost in each other as they're dancing, and the music stops.
Right. And they're still holding each other close and moving.
Right. Everybody else has walked off the dance floor, and they're still holding each other and swaying back and forth. So Samantha and Marcy walk up, and Samantha's like, "Hey, guys, the band is taking a break."
Yeah, this is funny.
And I love, if you look closely at Tony Danza's face, he kind of makes a little bit of like the emoji grimace guy, where he's like, ooh, because he realizes that they are embarrassing themselves.
Right.
And then, so they walk away, they're like, oh, okay, we should probably stop dancing. And then Samantha, as they walk away, Samantha says to Marcy, "I'm so embarrassed." And on the streaming version of this, it's a little longer of a scene because then Marcy goes, "It's okay. They probably just couldn't hear the music."
I know, like they're just so old they can't hear. I know, that's great. It made me laugh.
So they go back to the table, and I think they're feeling a little awkward around each other. And Fred and Ginger are still there. And Fred's like, I just want to apologize for earlier. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. Like, I'm a modern guy.
Yeah, no, you're not, Fred.
Right. If you guys want to live together, like, that's no skin off my nose, is what he says.
Which Fred had a revelation while they were gone for 4 minutes.
Ginger probably gave him a talking to.
Yeah, he probably. Yeah, you're right.
Or Mona. Listen, buddy. So then he says, so Tony's like, well, actually, we're not together at all. I'm her housekeeper. And Ginger's like, oh, okay. Well, then obviously you guys wouldn't be together.
Yeah, now they're thoroughly confused.
Right. And Mona's like, oh, well, I mean, what do you mean? Ginger, as you well know, good husbands have to be hard to find.
I know. And then they can't tell if that's a compliment or not.
Yeah, they can't tell. But Mona knows it's definitely not. Yeah. Now things start to go downhill because Ginger's like, well, that would probably be nice to have a husband who didn't work. And Angela and Tony kind of give a look. And then Fred's like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind living off the little woman for a while as long as my allowance was big enough.
Oh.
So Mona,
like, why do Fred and Ginger feel like they can just tear into these people? They just met him. Keep your mouth shut.
Right, exactly. And Mona's like, cracked crab, anyone?
Right. She keeps trying to neutralize the situation, and it still gets bad.
And then Angela's like trying to help out, but she just makes it worse. And so she's like, if you think that Tony doesn't work, you're mistaken, because it takes a lot of organizational skills, and it's very challenging to be a good housekeeper. And everything that she's saying is true, but like, this is only making Tony feel worse, because this is exactly why he has not wanted to date her, I think, up to this point, because of these awkward conversations like this. Once they're in a social situation with another couple, and they're like, well, what do you do for a living? But Angela can't help herself. Like, she's just digging herself in deeper and deeper. And then Mona's like, stuffed mushrooms, anyone? So she goes on to say how hard Tony works. And then Wendy, so here's why Wendy's not my MVP for this episode. She says he even has the dishpan hands to prove it. And so, like, I don't know if she's just still in a bad mood from not being your matron of honor.
Yeah, I think that she's pissed off the whole episode. Yes,
but normally the Wendy we know would have stood up for Tony, for sure, I think. So Angela's like, no, he doesn't. He wears rubber gloves. And then everyone at the table kind of starts laughing.
Yeah, which makes him even
so now he just feels worse. Yeah. And so he's like, okay, I think I need a drink. So he gets up and he goes to leave. And Fred asks if he would get him a drink as well. And he says, no, it's my night off. And he walks away. So now this is now Tony in a scene with his brother because he walks up to the waiter and the waiter asks if he would like some more champagne. And he's like, no, champagne's not really my thing. Do you have any beer?
Got a beer around here?
Yeah.
A beer, he orders a beer we never see.
No, he won't get that beer. But also it's because the waiter said he was going to go ask the chef. Why would the chef know anything about if they have beer? Wouldn't he ask the bartender?
I know, it doesn't make any sense.
Right,
the chef's making beer. You're right. Isn't there a bartender at this thing?
Right. You would think. No wonder. He's probably, you might as well go ask the valet if they have beer. They're just not going to find a beer.
And another thing is, I don't know where they supposedly got married, but I think this reception hall is the place where the wedding was redressed. I'm noticing that now as I'm looking at the episode.
Oh,
like the purple things up there.
Oh, maybe. Oh, that's a good point.
I think they just redressed it.
They would have had to do that really fast, though, if it was in front of a live audience. That was in the entrance
thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Maybe they took a break.
You know what? Yeah, they probably just pulled out all the chairs and then they made it.
Yeah.
Put the tables
Put a couple tables in there.
That's a good point. I did not notice that when I watched.
Yeah, I noticed it. I thought I noticed it last night, but now I really noticed it.
So
anyway.
Tony's feeling bad for himself. He's kind of hanging out back over by the buffet table.
That's his go-to.
Right.
Hang out by the buffet table.
He's just comforted being around food.
Yeah.
And Angela comes up and asks, can I talk to you? And he's like, sure, you can talk. And she's trying to explain, I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said, even though I meant what I said. I didn't mean for it to sound so bad. And
because not only is he the housekeeper, but then she has to stand up for him.
Right.
So it's just completely emasculating.
Yes. So he's like, it is funny. It's funny to think that you would date your housekeeper. And she doesn't really think that that's funny.
No.
And, she's like, just because he's like, a success like you wouldn't date a housekeeper. And she's like, just because I'm a success doesn't mean I'm a snob.
Mm-hmm.
And that she doesn't give one fig Newton about what people say.
Angela's way of cursing.
And he's like, oh, calm down. And he's like, but, let's be honest. We both kind of gave a little fig Newton. And it's true. I think she did, And if this had been, just kind of their friends who already knew them in the situation, then it wouldn't be that difficult. But I think... this is part of what's holding them back is that anytime they go if he goes to a function with Angela and they're like, oh, what do you do? Then he has to say he's her housekeeper.
That's a good way of looking at it. I didn't even think about it that way. Why? Now I know why the pain in the ass Fred is in the picture. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is just kind of showing what it would be like when.
There's so much keeping us apart. Right. It's like Romeo and Juliet here. Come on. But
it would probably be awkward at first, but then once people got to know him, then whatever.
Well, then he probably would just become the stay-at-home parent.
Right, that's true.
At that point.
Yeah.
He's not really the housekeeper.
And that kind of is what's going to happen, over time. But,
spoiler alert.
No, he stays her housekeeper, but, he decides that he's going to start working towards a different career once the kids have grown up and gone away. But yeah, because that's the thing. I think at this point, Tony doesn't really necessarily he enjoys being a housekeeper. Mm-hmm. He gets paid basically to stay home and raise his daughter, so he's very happy and comfortable. And I think it's when they're in their little family unit and they're together, it all feels really natural. And it's just when they get out,
Right, then it gets weird.
Yeah. And he probably thinks he's seen the kind of guys that Angela has dated before and they can afford to take her to really nice places or whatever, and he wouldn't really be able to do that.
Right. It might be douchebags, but they're rich.
So he's like, let's just stop thinking about weddings.
Right.
Which is also a good point because they've never even gone on a date. And suddenly now they're acting like a married couple and they're feeling as if this can never happen because of certain reasons.
Right.
So
come on.
He takes her over to someone else's table. They sit down at some half-eaten food to get away from...
Table number 4, I believe.
Yeah, table number 4. To get away from the fact that they're going to throw the bouquet any moment now. So as they throw the bouquet, it just lands on Angela's plate and right in front of her.
And you can just tell, like, it's not thrown from where Wendy Whitner made the announcement for, which is weird. I thought she would make the announcement, but Angela, but maybe she wasn't around. Wendy stepped right in.
She did. She's like, your matron of honor is arguing with Tony right now, so I'm going to just step in here and play the part. Wendy saved the day.
But where they throw it from and where it comes from are 2 different places.
Hang on. I'm going to watch here right now.
Yeah, like they're over there on the stage, but like it just flies in from the side. It's very strange.
Someone is totally standing right off camera and then just chucked it, right?
Oh, there it is.
That's so funny.
I mean, it's almost from that same direction, but
the angle is still low. Way closer.
The angle's low.
So, again, this is another reminder of marriage to them. But just then, Jeffrey with a G walks up. And he says, you look like an intelligent, sensitive, and woman with a good sense of humor, or something like that. Oh, no. He says, you look like a sensitive, perceptive, intelligent woman. And she says, yes, I am. And then he says, and you have a good sense of humor. Because she just said, yes, I am to all that.
Right.
So he asks, can I add good dancer to the list?
Right.
And she looks at Tony because I feel like she's thinking like, what's going on here? Like, do I get up and leave this conversation right now to go dance with this guy or not? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you're a really good dancer. Go show him. So she says, I guess we're through here. And he says yes.
Right.
He says, we're through here.
He says, yeah, we're through. And she's like, well, I guess we are. Yes, we are, or something. I guess we are, yeah.
That's kind of sad.
Right,
because
we're through, that's it.
Yeah, like...
I know, I think that was the point.
I know, but it's sadder than it should be, I think. Like, it's just sort of like, well, for one night, we kind of thought maybe we could give this a shot.
But no, Jeffrey with a G showed up.
So she gets up and she goes and dances with Jeffrey. And Tony's just kind of sitting there. And then Mona comes up and consoles Tony. Not consoles him, but, she does her thing where she just kind of gets him out of the seat and starts dancing, with her. But he's, like, still looking at Angela the whole time. So I think from this point on, now we have to assume that they both have pretty deep feelings for each other.
I do love that line where Angela goes out to the dance floor and Jeffrey's coming, like walking towards her, and he's like, we're going to look great on the dance floor. And then Tony says, I don't know about that. Fred and Ginger are out there. Or we're going to, whatever, the best looking on the dance floor or something. It's just funny.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't bring that up earlier, that Fred and Ginger would be a reference to Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. They had the same names. Because earlier they say not the Fred and Ginger. Oh. So they must have enjoyed that they were always Fred and Ginger.
Yeah, that's a funny
around people.
That was probably their line.
Yeah, and that would have been a reference that people would have gotten way more easily
back then
than they do now. Okay, so now in the tag of the episode, they're home from the wedding. It's later that night. And Angela's like, these feet are never going to dance again. And so Tony takes one of her feet and he starts rubbing it. Which is, again, I feel like this is way more of an intimate thing than we've seen them do before.
True. But it almost seems like it was almost natural. Like,
right.
It was a common occurrence.
Right. Like, we just didn't see
things
this
were getting
happening.
Rubbed. That sounds terrible. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Right.
Like, they're definitely comfortable with each other. I don't know how many things have been rubbed.
Right.
But,
Well, we'll never know.
But for him to feel comfortable enough to take her foot and start rubbing it, like, they obviously would have had times where they at least sit together on the couch or whatever and, like, hang out a lot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, because that is, again, kind of a very married couple thing to do. So he asks, are you going to see Jeffrey with a G again? And she's like, yeah. And then she says, dinner and a Broadway show on Friday. So she is going to see him again. And Tony's like, that's great. You know, you should be seeing people. I should be seeing people, not the same people. So he's letting her know here that, like, you know, we should be broadening our horizons and not hanging out so much together.
Yeah.
And then she kind of expresses how good it feels that he's rubbing her foot, and he puts her foot away.
Right.
He gives her back her foot.
So good.
And that is the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I forgot to say who is Jeffrey. So Jeffrey's going to be back, obviously.
Oh, right, yes.
And the actor's name is Robin Thomas. Mm-hmm. We were talking about this last night, that he looks so much like Steve Carell to me.
I know, it's bizarre. He really does.
Yeah, like, and he is still acting. He was in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Blue Bloods.
Okay.
Blue Bloods, the TV show Zoo. Oh, he was in Life Unexpected, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. He still is in a lot. He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So let me see exactly how many episodes of Who's the Boss he's in.
Quite a few, right?
6 episodes total.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's going to have a little stint here where we need to get Angela to broaden her horizons for a bit.
I know him from something, and I don't know what it is. Like something else. And he plays like a similar type character, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's with Mark Harmon. What was that? Summer School.
Oh, wait. Hang on. It's
Summer
up here at the
School?
top. It is Summer School, I think.
Oh, it's at the top.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's the
Summer
vice
School.
principal. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Summer
School.
Phil
Okay.
Gills. I think he's the one who's trying to get Kirstie Alley, but
Yes.
then Mark Harmon does.
Yes.
Yes,
So it's
totally.
like a kind of a similar type character. I don't know. But yes, I remember him from that, and that's the only thing I remember him from.
And I feel like they were like, okay, well, we need to throw a wrench in here. So let's ramp up the sexual tension for an episode, and then we're going to give Angela a boyfriend for a while to bring it back down. Because it's like they got a lot of time to fill before this show's going to be over. And no one's getting together until it's done. So, yeah. So here we are. Here's Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey. Enter Jeffrey.
Okay, so... who did
What?
rating? I never remember who did rating.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Rating. I gave this one a 7.5.
Okay, nice.
Because, I mean, I still think it had its moments. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it still had its moments. And the cheese factor was pretty cheesy in some parts, especially during the wedding.
Yeah.
I was kind of annoyed. Everybody kept asking them if they're ever going to get married. But, I mean, you know, annoyed in a way like... But I know it had to be done. It had to be part of the episode.
Right.
So, anyway, yeah, 7.5.
Okay. Yeah, I went with an 8 with this one because I have to be a half a step ahead of you.
Yeah, of course.
But no, I mean, the pacing is weird. It is cheesy in parts, but I do feel like it does kind of push the relationship stuff forward. And parts of it are just so cute. Like, I like their awkward conversation around each other. And I even really like the second conversation they have at the buffet table where they're basically like, you know, saying why this problem isn't going to work out. But yeah. And then the wedding, like getting them out of the house kind of makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, those are always interesting. Yeah.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you!
I went with Tony for the boss on this one. Mostly because he kind of shuts down the conversation at the end and sends her off with Jeffrey. And then if he would have said like, no, you know, we're having a conversation here or whatever, she wouldn't have gotten up with him and left at all. Like, she wanted to be there with Tony. But because he said we're through, then she got up and left. And I just kind of felt like he was sort of the one to make the decision there.
Okay. I actually think the same thing. I do think it was Tony, and I think the same exact reason. Like, well, just the fact that he just like let her go and just like he kind of steered the ship in that direction, like let her go do her thing and date other people. Like he didn't. You're right. He didn't try to ruin it.
He basically handed her over to Jeffrey.
Right. Like he could have ruined the whole thing, and he doesn't. So yeah, I agree with you 100% that it's that Tony is the boss.
All right. Well, that is the episode. You can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram, or Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter, or on Facebook. We have a page called the Who's the Boss Podcast page. Or go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast and there leave us a voice message. Okay, so next episode.
Next time on
Jonathan the Gymnast. I don't know if you remember this one.
I don't.
It's got some cute parts.
Okay,
I don't
good.
really remember this one that much either, so it'll be a first for both of us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I have zero recollection.
But you know what? Now that I think of it, I feel like, it's because the Antenna TV, we missed a couple episodes. Because Forgive Me, Tony kept popping up, and I was thinking that was our next episode, but it's not. So we have Jonathan the Gymnast, then Semi-Private Lives, which is another really awkward one, and then Forgive Me, Tony. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends and give you a big pat on the back. Bye. I added some extra.